training, whether the organization is going to benefit or not, that is the question mark. So any learning or training and development programs which you are conducting in the organization, it should be relevant, it should be business related, it should be organizational development perspective, it has to be impactful to the individual, department, function, overall business. That's the learning, which based on my experience, I'm sharing. It is not just like conducting some training and, giving some sort of good feedback. That is not the learning culture which we need to build in an organizational point of view. So that's what it is mentioned. It is business level, not at all academic. So to make it happen, this kind of culture in the organization, so we will give some sort of salient or bullet points, some sort of paramount, activities to be adhered so that, we can build the learning culture across the globe, you can say. VUCA already mentioned. There are a lot of buzzwords and a lot of abbreviations are there. Everybody knows that, V stands for volatility and U stands for uncertainty, C for complexity, and A for ambiguity, ambiguous situations and all. And this situation clearly, Desai was mentioning about, this is a pandemic and unprecedented situations, and hope everybody is safe and stay protected. That is very, very important. That is a safety message from my side to everyone that, it is very, very important. We need to adhere the COVID-19 protocol so that, we are safe at all times. God will help us, absolutely. So an adaptive firm and HR function or L&D function is very much needed to this VUCA world. So that's what we are incorporating, this kind of buzzwords, amalgamated together in the building, how we can, build the learning culture in the organization, which is very, very important. Building learning culture, if corporates or organization needs to survive and compete in today's world, which is full of VUCA world, with this VUCA world, how we can survive it, which are essential to their success. So we need to face all these kind of different kinds of volatility and uncertain and ambiguous, and complex situations, how you are going to survive, how you are going to be meticulous in terms of implementing the best learning and development practices across the organization. That matters a lot. Then only we can say that the organization can survive and reputation can increase and the LTI will reduce and the productivity will increase, the cash flow will come to the organization, etc. So learning, it is not a fancy piece. Somebody is coming again, I'm saying, very good training. We have attended a fantastic training. Whether it is impactful to the business, whether the productivity has been enhanced, whether the waste, is reduced a lot and the cash flow is increased, and the people are so happy, then only you can say this learning and development program is very good and it is, impactful to the organization. So importance of creating effective learning culture. Two times I have it's a typo. Improves employee engagement, higher retention, absolutely. Reputation, definitely it will increase. Business process becomes more efficient and streamlined. Higher return on investments and more successful. That's what we are looking for, that kind of engagement in the organization. Sorry, this thing was. So here, 100% employee participation, you either a learner or a teacher. This is very, very important. Even in my past experience, from the world, major world corporations like Royal Dutch Shell, as well as, Ministry of Oil and Gas in Abu Dhabi, ADNOC, other external, it's American oil and gas companies, and even in Reliance also. It is very, very important that the people participation for an effective implementation is vital and paramount. It is not an one-man show. If somebody is giving some sort of training programs and it is very good and showing some pie chart and giant chart, and that is not the learning which we can talk, So we have to think of, how it will be impactful, how it will be business related, how the organization will excel, and how we are going to implement, various kinds of career development programs for the organization, for the retention of the employees, as well as how to excel the business productivity, that is more important. So that's what, the learning culture stands. Required leadership paradigms. Employees do not have the necessary skills and knowledge to perform the task. Needs continual learning. Very, very important. I'm not going to touch upon the word competency, and definitely it's a knowledge, skill, and attributes or attitude, which is I have mentioned somewhere in this presentation slide. Which is very, very important. If the people doesn't have any appropriate skills, knowledge, and even the behavior is with a question mark, then it's a big problem. We want continual learning. So managers are responsible for coaching and reinforcing, strengthening the training. And people are always confused, this is a job of HR and L&D department. Absolutely, there is no HR and L&D, even though they are owning the function, learning department. But ultimately, the overall functional managers, even the line managers in each department has to be champion on that kind of stuff, and they need to see that. That's what I'm talking about. 100% ownership is very, very vital if you want to build the learning culture in the organization. Learning culture formulation again require leadership. Again, the same I'm talking about. I put some sort of points, which I would like to highlight here. Employees are responsible and accountable for assessing their knowledge, skills, and abilities. We need to empower the employee itself. And of course, nowadays, not only employee, that is self-assessment, and apart from that, the manager assessment also, it is important. Managers are responsible to monitor and motivate the employees on training and development. Employees and their managers are required to initiate personal development plans and take actions to achieve development goals, which is very, very important. One of the best experiences which I had, especially from major corporations, which I've noticed that, each line manager has to act as a mentor and coach, which is very, very important. Even each department, if you take any department, an engineering department or operation department or marketing department, even the finance department, that is important. There are line managers, there are mentors and coach. This is very, very important. That not only one HR or L&D department can drive the whole learning culture in the organization. Absolutely not. Employees who are continually trained and apply their knowledge and skill to perform at the highest level create high job satisfaction, enhance retention, which we have already discussed. We need to have a strategic plan. Very, very importantly, as per the new theory says, we need to hire learners. Learners means, they have got, the ability to learn and adapt and adopt and the best practices, learning and development practices in the organization. So we need to do that kind of thing. Improve the interview and selection process, competency development interview process, which I have involved many, many years, on that process. Each job role has got, different kinds of JCP, job competency profile, and the managers will, perform the recruitment process based on the real requirement, which is clearly mentioned in the job competency profile. That is competency-based hiring process, which is very important. One of the major organizations, Shell, they were very, very particular about that. They are not asking some superficial questions at all. They will ask about their three major important things. One is their domain competencies, and the second one is the behavioral or leadership or managerial competencies, and the third one is about the safety competencies, because the people are working in hazardous environment in manufacturing or oil and gas, offshore, onshore, LNG platform, etc., etc. So, which is a very robust selection process, that we have to think of, how while hiring itself, it starts from there. Higher learner will lead to high performance. Learning and performance is very important. Doesn't mean that, I scored 100 marks out of 100 of this particular course, which my training manager has delivered, but this guy is not a good performer. Means what is the use of this 100% mark? Absolutely not required. So to me, learning is not important in an organization, but performance. But if you want the good performance in the organization, what kind of learning is important? That is important. So identify the best learning which is appropriately and dovetailed with the business, and which is dovetailed with the functions and the different kinds of departments. That is important. That's what I'm talking about. 100% ownership is very, very vital for doing all these kind of things. Propagate for self-assessment and fill the gaps time to time. Thirst for skills and knowledge acquisition. That is very important. People has to have that kind of thirst. I need to learn this, because learning is keep on. It's an agile kind of learning, and it is keep on learning unlearning the word, relearning and all. We are talking about a lot of things like that. Whatever we learned, 10 years before, and now it is different. Even digitization is coming in picture, analytics is coming in picture. So many things are coming in picture. So we need to keep on learning if you want to survive in the organization. Mentors and coaching support is very, very, each line manager and functional manager has to act. Wherever I worked in a major corporations, I have told very clearly that line managers, an army of mentors and army of coaches, very, very vital if you want to implement the learning culture in the organization throughout the organization throughout different countries, or if the major organization has got, if it is working in different 50 countries across the globe, everybody has to consistently follow that kind of learning management system. Very important. Okay. Develop and create an organizational owned learning development functional department. I don't believe that, okay, I can call somebody from outside, he can deliver the training and all. Okay, some expertise is not there. We have to call somebody, those who are having, that kind of expertise, and then definitely we can do it. Otherwise, we need to think of building an university. That's what corporate university. Corporate university, major companies, they've got corporate universities and structures very, very clearly, so that, that corporate university structure is embedded across the department or functions, and even for asset facing role, or the managers and senior managers and general managers and the VPs or senior leaders, they will be following meticulously that kind of corporate university structure, which is also important, which we have implemented in the past also in many major organizations. So universities, I don't want to go a bit in detail about that kind of stuff. University senior management is similar to executive management in an organization. We have got lecturers, professors in the university, and even dean and directors. Same way in the corporate also, we have got line managers, functional managers, and head of a department, head of learning department, head of HR department. That kind of concept, that kind of structure we need to create, and meticulously we need to implement that kind of learning and development programs. And university is conducting some sort of traditional courses and traditional programs, and the corporate is conducting some sort of functional based and business related training program. This is the biggest problems normally some of the organization may be facing. They will take and they will hire some sort of people from the college, they will adopt. So these are all the courses which is available. You develop that kind of courses and implement. Doesn't mean that that is complete. You will get a basic knowledge only, underpinning knowledge. If you want to be a skill oriented, or underpinning knowledge is nothing but knowledge required for the performance, knowledge required to build the capability, or knowledge required to build the competency. That is the knowledge which is required in the organization. So there the functional manager and the subject matter experts, or SME or SPE, skill pool advisors, or SPE, skill pool experts, these are all the words, normally major companies like Shell, BP, or ExxonMobil, they were doing all this kind of stuff. So which is very, very important. HR and L&D is responsible for setting annual and interim training objectives. It ensures the training system is effective in meeting organizational requirement. Works with the functional senior team like university deans in the organization in creation of tactical, that is, strategic implementation plans for specific areas of learning and development, schools of learning. That is very, very important, So senior managers organize training into strategic areas of development that house specific training and certification programs. Management team works, including HR, are responsible to create specific courses and learning content, set eligibility criteria, assess or evaluate effectiveness, and manage the learning reinforcement process. So I have got some experience, some learning and training managers or senior general managers, they will say, this is the course which I have prepared for the people working in the operations. So from where you have referred, I was asking politely to that gentleman, from where you have got this information. Sir, I got so many information from books, from Google. I said, my dear friend, just you go and refer your SOP, standard operating procedures, or standard maintenance procedures, or you discuss about the senior leaders and HSCMS and waste management system, companies' quality management practices. From there, you can take some sort of information and make it as and translate it into the courses for the organization development. If you want to build the organization, if you want to generate competent workforce, you don't want to create some sort of information from somebody's written some books and all, that will give only basic information. So think beyond that kind of stuff, because it is evolving, and plus, it is a revolutionary kind of approach you need to think of if you want to build the learning culture. Then only people say that, okay, I learned something today so that I can perform very well tomorrow. That kind of things. So company has to think of, generating a lot of doers rather than talkers. Some people will talk very well, once they go to approach any problems and all, they may run away from the problems and all. That means he's not a manager, he's not a very good guy. He needs to learn a lot, kind of things. So SMEs within the company trained in learning facilitation techniques provide the most value of instructor lead training. ILTs people doesn't mean that, okay, I can conduct this kind of programs. So think of, 3 buckets of learning, which I am always talking to the people. Not only people, if you go and talk to the buying something from the shelf, people talk something about leadership training, behavioral training and all. Okay, that is only one content. What about the domain training? What about the other, values and behaviors training? What about the behavioral training? What about the leadership training? So it's a 360-degree kind of approach you need to implement. You need to capture it and you need to implement it meticulously in the organization if you want to build the learning culture and if you want to excel the business. Okay, there's a lot of things which I have mentioned here. I'm not going to explain because of time constraint and all, which is very, very important also. So organization has to think of, conducting some sort of blended training methods. Blended training means, how a person can learn in an organization. Not only somebody is coming and delivering some sort of leadership sessions. No, it is only very, I would say 2%. So blended learning is, how a person can learn, maybe self-learning, web-based training, WBT or classroom training or on-the-job training, which is the most important part, and functional learning. Nowadays, digitization training, on-the-job training, now it is reduced. The old methodology like 70, 20, 10, 70% is on the job, 20% is actually for information required for the business, including mentoring and coaching, and 10% is the web-based training and classroom training. Now, 70% on the job training is reduced due to this VUCA world, or this kind of people are working from home and all. A lot of information is available in digitization world in different kind of methodology, but I would say that it again varies from business to business. A person working in a plant, a person working in oil and gas or manufacturing, which is different than a person working in an IT field. IT field on the job training is only laptop, you can work from the job. And the people, if you want to operate a plant, he has to be there in the plant. That means that the terminology. So it depends upon business to business. It depends upon department to department. It depends upon, the hazardous environment. People working in oil and gas, it is a different. So it is entirely different. So you have to think holistically in all kind of angles. Even simulators are there. So many, mentoring coaching, which is already I have mentioned and discussed also. So, which is empowered learning and reinforcement. Retention and application of learning will not take place without a structured reinforcement process. Employees, managers, mentors, measurements. It is a holistic approach, which is important, very, very important. Each person has to be involved, starting from asset-facing role, junior employees to the senior leaders or CEO or the managing directors, has to involve all the process. So if you look at, DuPont process, they will train only the CEO and MD and the senior leaders and board of directors. Then that's enough. Then after that, it is their responsibility to train their different reportees. Again, these people will train to them. It's a chain of learning. That's not as mentoring coaching. It is a reinforced kind of training, which is very, very vital if you want to see. Nowadays, in digitization and the various kinds of AV methodology and AI, artificial intelligence, it is available there. I would say these are all data management tool, and we have got available everything in repository kind of things. But in real basic stuff, very simple example, if you want to ride a bicycle, doesn't mean that through digital I can ride a bicycle. If somebody is staying and somebody is challenging, means it's a big problem. He can learn some basic stuff, how to ride a bicycle from any kind of digitization courses. After that, once you get that kind of basic stuff, he has to go there and he has to run the bicycle, ride the bicycle again. That is known as experiential learning or on-the-job training and mentoring coaching, which is important, which is not going to go away just like that. Again, it depends upon organization to organization, industry to industry, or function to function. Okay, employees are responsible. Creating personal PDP is very, very important. People has to create personal development plan now, or individual development plan, or professional development plan. many organizations is using very many kind of buzzwords, we can discuss that kind of stuff. And employees manager and employee has to sit together, which are all the areas of strength and weakness, and you pinpoint the weaknesses and which are all the areas. Okay, these are all the weakened areas. Sometimes you may not be required any kind of formal training. I can put this guy on the job and maybe get trained, after a few times, and all, the manager will assess it and he will say that, this guy is a good performer. So think of very holistic approach. It is not like a fancy word. Learning it is not just like a fancy kind of thing. Learning it doesn't mean that, showing some sort of analytics and showing some sort of giant chart or pie chart and showing some very nice diagrams and all. Next day or after 3 days, the employer or the organization is collapsing, means it's a question mark. What is the use of, showing that kind of, that is my thinking. And a lot of things, think holistically, meticulously, then institutionalize, internalize, then implement meticulously. Then only you can say that, we can say the organization is going in the right direction kind of thing. So everybody knows that any development plan has got areas of strength, areas of learning and development. Action plan, it is learning activities and opportunities, mentors, identify mentors and learning partners. And one of the organization I was working, in the Houston, and which was having in a lot of areas in offshore platforms and onshore platforms, and including interior locations, they were having, very clear SPA, skill pool advisors. They have posted, it is a permanent position. It is their responsibility to make sure that I have got adequate people working in the organization correctly, they are performing the job or not. Mining department, just to look at the mining. It is not like, and the people working in rigs, there is even, they don't have any time to look at the computer or mobile, they are working in 12 hours shift and all, they are busy their activity. So they are, the skill, how they can impart their knowledge and skill, of course, it is a mentors or SPAs and all, you will get the knowledge and some things, which you may refer maybe after the office working hours, or that kind of stuff. So managers are responsible for providing continuous feedback and coaching. This is important, setting training, learning objectives within the employee, creating opportunities to apply learning to the employee's jobs. So, if you want to implement that kind of learning culture or building learning culture in these especially unprecedented situations, and we faced also, through various kinds of training process. I see some major organization, the plant is running and corporate office is closed. From here, corporate office, we are connecting with the line managers and how you are conducting certain programs. That's what I said, 70-20-10. 70 is reduced to 40%. On the job training, little bit less, because the people are not full-fledged people working in the plant, and also we can think of changing the strategies. That's what it is mentioned, strategic plan or tactical plan kind of things. Okay, and higher learners, which we already, organization and expectation, continual learning is very, very vital. That's been a highly skilled workforce is very vital for the company's competitiveness and success. And especially for and again, it is depending upon the organization to organization, but to me, to all organizations, it is very, very important. Benefits: increasing knowledge and skill sets, improving the best practices, assisting organization to meet the business objectives, etc., which is very, very important. And this slide, I love this slide. With this, I may stop it because, time is important. Learning, it's a systematic acquisition of knowledge, concepts, skills, and attitudes that result in desired improvement in candidates' performance at work. Again, I am saying it is not at all a fancy piece. I don't worry about, if somebody is making in an Excel spreadsheet or Word and showing that this is the training which we have conducted, but the productivity is increased and the people are happy, retention is very high, and plus, the cash flow is increased, reputation has gone up. I can say that learning is happening in the organization. Remember, learning is not what ultimately important, but performance. Me as a person who has come from the line, worked in engineering manager, operation manager, safety manager, head of departments, then moved to the talent and capability building, global head for talent and capability building. I personally believe that which is important is performance. So how you can link the learning, how you can link any word which you talk about training and development or competency development or talent building or anything, or building talent pipelines, etc., which if the organization is excelling the performance to the next level to attain the organizational excellence, then we can say that there is a learning culture which is going on. Then only the organization is doing excellent and doing very well. With this, and thank you very much for your patience, because I'll be talking more and all, there are a lot of other experts here, definitely the three other experts, you need to listen them also. Now the time is 7:35. I'm sorry, extremely sorry, because 10 minutes more I took it. So thank you very much, and wish you all the very best. And thanks for giving me this opportunity to talk in front of all experts and gurus. And happy learning. Thank you.
And thank you very much, sir. I would request our senior member Kubalkar sir to give a vote of thanks on your wonderful session. Over to you, Kubalkar sir.
Thank you, Devan.
Thank you.
Actually, मुझे तो लगा कि ये ONGC वाले ही है. He was quoting all the oil and gas examples, and I was going into my 38 years experience, similar type of experience. And Nair साहब ने जो examples दिए, in fact, in ONGC, training is taken very seriously, and that BHN catastrophe or that accident, very few casualties were there. So training part in ONGC, and as Nair Sahab has rightly quoted, oil gas business has the highest VUCA.
Absolutely.
Because there is no certainty. 5 kilometers down the earth, nobody can see, nobody can only guess and guess and guess. So learning and earning both go together. तो नायर साहब ने बहुत ही अच्छा एग्जांपल्स दिए, एंड बिकॉज मुझे तो लगा कि मेरे ही कलीग जैसे ही बातें हो रही थी. एंड यू नो दैट बोट ट्रेनिंग एंड सेफ्टी ट्रेनिंग एंड सो मेनी ट्रेनिंग, बिकॉज जैसे थियोरेटिकली नहीं, साइकिल का जो आपने एग्जांपल दिया, in on every Saturday Sunday you must be knowing that platform they lower the boat, somebody takes out of the hook and they take a run in the sea, and you see the training. I know that BHN, they tell you not to do anything. If something happens, just put the jacket and lie down in the sea. Don't do anything. Don't waste your energy. Let people help you. So these are the things which we have to learn. Otherwise, you will start try to swim, which you cannot do. So learning not to do anything is also very surprise for me in the beginning. So thank you, Sanjeev sir. I think, are you from ONGC, sir?
No, I was in Shell, and before previously around 20 years I was in Shell, and after that I was with Reliance for 9 years.
Industry. So really we get the good experience, and you have quoted most of the examples. But one thing I would like to add in this is, nowadays VUCA world and this Corona especially is teaching us whatever we have learned, we have to imagine further. Absolutely. It is not sufficient. Whatever you have learned is not going to help you number of times, like quarantine and this Corona, and now it has become everybody's lockdown. Every village people also know all these words, which were not known at all. So these are coming, and future जो 50 years के बाद और 30 years के बाद जो आने वाला है, I think your learning will not be sufficient. You have to imagine and use your brain, this coaching, and it will help you to certain level, not to what you call excel further. Because today's paper only I was going through, Adani also could not clear the degree. वो भी आधे में छोड़ दिया बोल रहा था उसने. And most of the big people who have learned, achieved very big things, probably they were not conventional learners. They were observers and other methods of learning, probably from the whole environment. तो नायर साहब का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. आपने आज हमारा जो ISTD day है, and this organization was formed on this day to make people aware of the importance of learning and development and training and all these aspects. Probably this is the only organization in India at a national level and spread all over India. So Nair साहब हम आपको सुनना चाहेंगे बार बार. You be in touch with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Kubalkar sir and Sajeev sir. Yes. Now we will move on with our panel discussion, and I would like to introduce our panelist and our moderator for the day for panel discussion. So I'll start with Dr. Ramashankar Yadav. Welcome, Ramashankar ji. I've studied HR analytics from him, and I'm very sure that we will have a good use of his knowledge, because he has done his FPM from IIM Ahmedabad, and right now he is faculty with IIM Rohtak, and he is teaching in the areas of human resource, corporate social responsibilities, workplace dynamics, work ethics, and he has written books on HR analytics and HR management. So welcome. We would like to welcome you, sir, on this beautiful platform, and we would like to learn a lot from you.
I'm so thankful to you, Dr. Devangji. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so I'm very thankful to ISTD Vadodara, Shri Dilip Desai ji, Devangji, and I'm thankful to Dr. Sajeev Nair ji, and Dr. Arun Chitlangia and Dr. Ankita. I will be sharing stage with them, and I'm also thankful to all the participants who are attending this, and I will try to create some meaningful knowledge here. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much, sir, for your presence. Will definitely enlighten the participants. Here is the profile of Dr. Ramashankar Yadav on LinkedIn. I've shared the LinkedIn link in chat box, so you guys can connect with him. Now I'll move on to Dr. Ankita Singh. Welcome, Dr. Ankita Singh. If I'll read her entire profile, then we will end up with her time actually. Ankita Singh, are you there?
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation. Really happy to be here and share the stage with esteemed panelists.
Thank you, Dr. Ankita. Yes, Dr. Ankita is currently associated with Signex Datamatics as a Senior Vice President and Global Head of HR, IT, Travel and Admin. She has over 22 years of experience in managing and leading various aspects of HRM, and he holds in the PhD in management, and she is a gold medalist in BBA as well as MBA. She did her other courses from IIM Ahmedabad, ISB Hyderabad, XLRI, and she is PPA Thomas Profiling Practitioner, and she has so many awards as an HR leader, as in CHRO. So there are more than 40 awards she has received so far, and she is in the list of Forbes as well. Welcome, Dr. Ankita Singh, again to ISTD Vadodara.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, here is her profile of LinkedIn, so that you can follow her. Yes. And now I'll move on to our third and last speaker, Arun sir, Arun Chitlangia ji. He is one of the ISTDian like us. He has served as RVP in West region. Arun sir has initially worked in the industry for a couple of years, but then realized that training is the only fit for him. Training is the forte, rather, I would state as. And he started with his own stint, Training Tree, and he is the CEO of Training Tree, and he's doing wonderfully in the industry of, in training industry. Welcome, sir. Welcome to ISTD.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And yes, last our moderator, panel discussion moderator, Dr. Seetal Nair. Dr. Seetal is author, serial entrepreneur, and he is our vice chairman of ISTD Vadodara chapter. Dr. Sheetal, thank you for being the moderator of this event. And now it is on you to take it further. Thank you, Dr. Sheetal.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Devangji, for giving a light introduction of mine. Thanks to ISTD Vadodara chapter and to all the dignitaries who are attending. First and foremost, thank you, Dr. Sajeev sir. It's been nice. I think I've seen you after some time now. Met you a long time ago, and it's really nice to hear about VUCA World. It's a very interesting conclave that we have here today, with the panel discussion to follow. We spoke about VUCA, that is the volatile. You have heard the abbreviation that was shared. What I could understand from what Dr. Sajeev Nair said was an organization's ability to learn and translate that learning into action rapidly is the ultimate competitive advantage that they have, and that's what I understand from this session. So I think that's the gist that we all could hear. It was really nice to hear you, sir. Now moving on to the panel discussion. We have three eminent personalities with us who are going to talk about reimagining learning for a hybrid workplace. Why a hybrid workplace? सबसे पहले ख्याल हमारे दिमाग में ये आता है, why are we talking about hybrid workplace? I was just discussing with one of my professors in IIM Calcutta, and he was talking to me about how the timelines have changed. From AD and BC, that is what we used to call the time era, or the CE as the continuum era. We are now talking about BC, that is before Corona, and AC after Corona.
Time passing.
The entire dynamics have changed. Our life, the way we imagine things have changed. And that is one of the major reasons why today we're going to be talking about how to reimagine learning for a hybrid workplace. Learning and development has been happening for n number of times. We have spoken at length about it. A lot of conclaves have spoken about it. But today, in the times of Corona, how are we ready to tackle this? What is the workplace going to look like? And how, as an HR professional, as an OB professional, or as an L&D professional, how are you going to implement these changes at your workplace? So without much further ado, I'll request the first panelist, Dr. Ramashankar Yadav, to please share his viewpoint on the same.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sheetal. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yeah, audible, crystal clear.
Okay, great. So yeah, COVID has definitely, changed the way we react, we respond. We used to learn, we used to interact with our friends, and in the similar manner, it has also impacted how we used to work. Although work from home, telemedicine concept, work from home and virtual team meetings are not very new concept. They were there. And what has happened, something good you can derive from COVID is it has given a push to digital world, digital learning, virtual teams. And at the same time, it has also emphasized that how we need to focus on our resource utilization. So whatever we are imagining for today or tomorrow may not be wiser for day after tomorrow, right? I mean, so why a hybrid model? A hybrid model is always beneficial, because if we go by the fixed cost and variable cost concept, you are somehow reducing your fixed cost, right? So you are trying to reduce, and that permutation and combination has to be decided by the industry, by the company, depending on their context. For example, manufacturing will have a different setup, service will have a different setup, and so on and so forth. Teaching will have a different pedagogy altogether. So it has to be there, and it is a wiser and it is an optimal solution that you have to have this hybrid model. One was about the cost. The second one is also about the changing paradigm of our new generation. Now, when I say new generation, it is more about our millennials, the kids who are joining the workforce. They are very much digital as compared to the generation which I was to, a cohort with, or probably, Dr. Sajeev or Dr. Arun or Dr. Dilip used to, work with. Jahan pe digital was very rare. Now everything is on your palm. I mean, that's your mobile. And you are learning, and the millennials are learning very quickly through this palm tech, you can say, or mobile tech, you can say. And so it is very wisdomful that you incorporate something which the younger generation is cherishing about. So it is about how you can utilize this strength. I mean, this is a strength. How can you make it a strength? Because, it has one, yes, definitely it has a cost associated with it. But once you, invest in it, the variable cost, reduces per year. So you can reap the benefit, and maybe the impact can be far more meaningful as to the, physical learning or online learning. And maybe, because we all are running in this, as Dr. Sajeev mentioned in his earlier session, that VUCA world, very volatile, very uncertain, very complex, very ambiguous. So we have to give some freedom to, the people also, so that they can choose what they want to learn, so that they can choose what module they want to go forward. Because, earlier we used to say that it is all about, you are joining an organization, you have to work for organization, and organization will take care of it. They will give you some psychological safety in terms of monies, job security, medical benefits, so on and so forth. Now, it is not only about that. It is also about the meaningful career which your organization is giving. Otherwise, the turnover intention of these millennial kids will be very fast. So now, probably, Dilip ji will tell, or Dr. Arun will tell, hire to retire ka concept chalta tha. Now there is no concept as such. Maybe 3 years, yeah, Dr. Sheetal, I mean, 3 years, 2 years.
I guess so. I guess so. And millennials, the term that you use, millennials, I don't think their retention is for a long term. I mean, every one of us who hires millennials, we know that they're going to jump. If they do not jump, sometimes we are scared as to why the person is so constant in a job. Itna continuation mein kaisa raha? That, I mean, you will all agree that ye sawal dimag mein aata hai. How can someone be so constant, being so young? Why has he or she not jumped a job? So yes, I agree to that point. So that's true.
So you have to have that hybrid model. Now, what's the you can say there are pros of this model, but there are cons also. Maybe something like procrastination. This is something which the younger generation does. Aaj ka kaam kal ka parso, and so on and so forth. So in a hybrid model, you cannot control to some extent, because you're giving the ownership to these individuals. So that remains a challenge for us. Okay. Second is, sometimes when we are using the virtual model, it becomes more passive. If I do not, personify Dr. Sheetal, Dilip ji, Sajeev or Devang ji or Arun ji, it becomes very passive learning. It's like information sharing, not knowledge creation. So we have to also see that it does not become an information sharing, कि हम एक news reader को देख रहे हैं या फिर एक knowledge provider को देख रहे हैं. So that emphasis has to be changed. And this is one of the biggest challenge. How you make the learning in virtual platform very active. At the same time, Dr. Sajeev mentioned that, it's not only about your domain learning, it is also about how can you impart some behavioral, training programs or behavioral upliftment, because, ultimately it is we, the humans, who are going to perform. आप technology कितना भी अच्छा लगा लो, अगर आपने जो machine on off कर रहा है, he does not know, what's the right time, and 5 minute देर या जल्दी करने में कितना एनर्जी फ्यूल का लॉस होगा, everything is going to a toss. So are you seeing this sensitization? I mean, how important it is. So it is also about clarifying the misunderstanding, creating an environment where people are really bothered about what they're standing for, what they're doing for. So it has to be always an win-win, where, yes, I am investing in your mode of learning, which is virtual, and you are very used to it. That's very sense making. Yeah. So, but at the same time, I also expect something in a very efficient form. So you tell me, where am I going wrong? What are the areas of improvement? Because in virtual learning, sometimes it becomes very, monotonous. Humor is not there. Sometimes, I mean, this meeting itself, if it would have been in a physical platform, in a classroom, probably the kind of knowledge we are going to take away from this would have been definitely multifold.
So the dissemination of knowledge will eventually be hampered, what you're trying to say, but because of the virtual
I'm
meeting?
saying it will reduce, but our focus would be that when we are using the hybrid model, we have to increase it. And there are ways to increase it, because obviously when you are going to use hybrid model, there are constraints, isn't it? Virtual का अलग से constraint है. You cannot, I know you can take maximum 50% of me in the virtual world. I also talk when I walk. I also talk when I give my eyebrow a little up. Yeah. So what is you can say disseminated in a physical offline platform is much higher as compared to hybrid model. But yes, in the need of the hour, hybrid model has to be there, and this is one of the changing stuff, and every organization has to do it depending on their financial constraints. Yeah. So I will stop my talk here, and then I will take it forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ramashankar Yadav. It was nice. I request Dr. Ankita Singh to please share her opening remarks. Dr. Singh?
Yeah,
I believe we are having... Yeah, you're audible. You're audible, Doctor.
There is some major connectivity issue. So I would suggest, I'm just figuring it out. I'm trying to connect to some other device. I would suggest you take to the second person. I'll join.
No worries, absolutely. I think this was one of the constraints that we're going to face in a virtual session. So moving on, I would request Mr. Arun Jitlangia. Sir, I would request you to please share your opening remarks. Do you also agree that dissemination of knowledge becomes a problem when it comes to hybrid model?
I would differ, but before that, I want to give you a little bit of background related to the situation we are in today's world. So there is a small presentation which I would like to start with. And what I would like to share with all of you is this, that there was a time when I'm using this in a story format, that once upon a time, we used to meet in the classroom and used to learn not only from the trainer or teacher, but also from each other. But the situation has changed, as you will see in the slides. So these were the days. And I'm sure that all of us thought that what a happy situation it was. If we look in the next slide, you will see some happy faces. Wow, we are having that energy and we are meeting each other and we are commenting on each other. So wonderful situation. And what has happened now? Let's see it here. Well, this is not bad, because here also there are some smiling faces. People are there and they look curious. But please don't get carried away. This is not the scenario all the time. Sometimes it could be different, which you are going to see in the next slide. Sometimes it could be this. Audio, video switched off. Only the slide is there. And you wish, oh my God, this I could have done on YouTube. Why am I there in the webinar, right? So this could happen. So let's see what are the pros and cons which we talked about. So there are challenges. In the virtual learning also, yes, there are challenges. Group energy is a challenge. Learners switching off the audio, video and go for a walk. Partial visibility. Then people, below screen, you can't see what I am doing. I can do multitasking with my mobile phone or something else, right? And people believe, now this is where my difference of opinion comes. People believe that it is boring and monotonous. I don't agree to that. Mostly it is one-way communication. That again is a belief and not always true. and games and activities are not possible. This is what is believed. I may not agree. At the same time, there are certain limitations in our existing or previous method also. So if you look at the next slide, which was like in-person sessions, cost was a major factor. It still is, if we want to do it now. Traveling of the faculty, traveling of the participant, and the fatigue related to traffic and travel. So these were the situations. So this is the situation we are in. So I would like to bring this context first, let Ankita also talk about it to some extent, and then I will come to the point that why I disagree. So last slide which you saw is a hybrid model, which we are recommending very strongly. So this is where we need everything. We need everything. We need classroom, yes. We need high technology. We need virtual, yes. Why? We will talk about it later.
Great. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Can I have Dr. Ankita Singh back?
Yeah. Hi. Thank
Hi.
you so much. I was just listening, and I don't think I can probably add anything new, but I can just strongly support, because very well pointed out, as today also we are talking about, hybrid model. That is the present scenario, and that's going to further expand when we talk about 2025 or 2030, because there are a lot of things, as sir just rightly mentioned, be it your nature of business. When we talk about the workforce combination, either it is gig workers that we are talking about that will be holding a great percentage in coming future, or we have shared resources where people would be working with multiple organizations at the same time, or third party contractual employees, direct employees. There will be more of diversity as well as inclusion that we have already started witnessing. And in addition to that, when people are throughout the day, they are working on a project, you cannot claim that every single day they will be able to sit for 4 hours and attend a particular training. So time constraint is there. People want more of flexibility, that when I'm traveling, I should be able to, just have my mobile phone in my hand and should be able to cover a part of training, even if it is just for 15 minutes. So the ease and, flexibility is more important. Cost factor that a lot of people just shared, availability. When we know that we have niche skills, or we know that we are talking about human skills, every day getting people into classrooms to deliver those trainings is not going to be possible. Obviously, when we are talking about more diverse workforce where geographical challenges also come in picture, I think the best solution would be, there is a buffet kind of a thing, and you just pick what you actually need for that particular day or for that particular business need, depending on your nature of business, depending on the nature of training. Now, if you want to do a team bonding training, probably you will still have to go on an outbound. You would not get a similar result if you are doing a team bonding training with cameras on or probably videos off and one person talking from the other side. So there is no definite equation that can be defined for each organization, but I think every organization, depending on the time and the scenario, will have to prepare the right mix for themselves, which will be a mix of online, offline, or in person. So yes, I mean, hybrid is the answer. The proportion to which it is taken up will depend on a lot of factors that all of us we have been covering in last 15 minutes or so. So that's the starting remark from my end. Thank you.
Great. So since I have you right now online, I'd just like to parry something to you too. Dr. Ankita, you there?
Yes, very much.
So we heard Dr. Ramashankar Yadav speak about the millennials, the new generation who is coming into the workforce. You spoke about gig workers. I find those two things very interesting. So I had this query in my mind, and this is one of the audience also suggested the same question. Pareto principle is prevalent strongly in the newer working generation. So how do you think the businesses or the organizations can enhance the existing workforce in such a circumstances, as Dr. Yadav said and as you said, the gig workers or the millennials? So how can we handle this?
So see, there also, I would at least I feel that as far as work is concerned, they fall in the same category. they are probably, the need is a little bit different. And when we talk about the Pareto principle, or 80-20 as it is called today, it is an amazing tool and concept to improve performance, increase productivity, or probably grow business. In general, when we talk about it, it's more about identification, prioritization, and implementation. Now, identifying which 20% of time produces 80% of their result. Imagine if the organizations are able to do it with respect to their resources, how useful it will be. Now, what you are talking about when we talk about gig workers or millennials, they are proactively doing it. So if you have a team that is proactively working on that equation of 2080, they have identified their tasks, they have prioritized them, they know their 20% really well, and they know how to turn that 20% to 80%. They know the implementation methods. Now, role of an organization to enable them is by sharing the bigger picture, which is the goal, which has to be shared between the organization as well as the individual. Coach them properly, as in show them the direction. Obviously, they are already in that phase, as you rightly said. They are much proactive than us. They are pretty sure of their career that they have defined for themselves. But coaching when they are connected to your organization, showing them direction is really important. And the third point would be wire things well, which is connect. Obviously, gig workers, they are not with you all the time. Probably they are for a much shorter duration. When we talk about millennials, their understanding, their communication pattern, expectation, everything is a lot different. So they already have that thing inbuilt. They are very concerned about that particular phase or 80-20, but how are you enabling them? That becomes really important. So when we say, when we talk about 80-20, we, in a way, we say right work at the right time. And that helps. And today, when we are primarily talking about VUCA world, not just the newer generation, but most of us recognize the importance of 2080, where this is just a reference number. We know that it keeps changing. So that's my take on it. But recently, I came across a very interesting concept, which is defined by Perry Marshall, who talks about 20% of 2080, which, so 20% of the overall thing reduces down to 4%, and the impact is 64. So imagine 64% impact because of 4%, which is more focused, rigorous, and selective, which we see a lot in millennials and definitely in gig. Also in our full-time employees, because it is difficult and it is unfair to say that only these two will be thinking in this particular direction. I'm sure if you talk about yourself or if I talk about myself, we do not wait for companies to send us for trainings. We are proactively identifying, we are talking about future skill sets, we are talking about what would be needed in 2025, and we are taking steps towards that. So we each one of us today is following the 2080 rule, and that's nothing but defining a more meaningful rule to the meaningful work that we can deliver to the organization we are connected with. So that's my take.
Interestingly done. So I'd just like to parry what Dr. Ankita Singh has said and just bring it forth. So Perry Marshall is what she quoted right now, and I think pretty much I agree to that. Now, bringing you to the point that Dr. Ramashankar Yadav made about millennials, and now since he belongs to a analytics background, so can you throw some light on how AI, analytics, both of these things have combined are going to make a big difference, or are they actually going to make any difference in this current learning style, in this hybrid situation? Dr. Yadav, if I may take.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Dr. Sheetal. Obviously, analytics is something which has to be there in HR. I mean, because, we all are, HR professionals, majority of us are HR professionals. And, there is a long-lasting debate whether HR is using analytical mind or they are just solely following their heart. So definitely, we are assume that we follow our heart and we take decision based on insights, from our past experiences. We do not follow much of the data and analytics. So now, whenever let me give you 2-3 quick examples, and then I will highlight the importance, how analytics will help in changing the learning environment in organization. Now, whenever, we used to go to our, when I was working with Tata's, so whenever we used to go for, taking nomination for training programs. So our manufacturing head or quality head or service head, they used to say, अरे तुम ये training program, team building, ये सब क्या कराते रहते हो? इसका कोई output है क्या? So they used to say this. I mean, what is the benefit? I am relieving my 2 people, and he is helping in getting 2 vehicle assembled, which is generating revenue for my organization. He will be not there for 2 days, so 4 vehicles are at toss, right? Now, he could easily say this because, I do not have much data to support that, how is behavioral training going to help in the, enhancement of the organizational culture, productivity, how is engagement leading to increase in production, increase in productivity. So yes, if you are making some, and that's why, it is very hard to rationalize how behavioral training programs are going to help us. And because the boss is not understanding that implication, he will be susceptible to invest in behavioral training program. अरे नहीं, इसका नहीं छोड़ो, कोई डोमेन का ट्रेनिंग है तो बताओ. Are you getting this point? So, yeah, unless and until you showcase some data and some analytics that, boss, these are the, data which are of last 2-3 years, and particularly segregated for different cohorts, how things are changing because of these behavioral training programs, how they are, collaborating more, how has the creativity increased, how has number of suggestions they used to give, because now they feel like, friends interacting and they're coming up with solution. I mean, this can only happen if you have, feeling that, yes, we do have friends at workplace and we can share our heart, and there is a team spirit. So this is a bigger thing, and which is in right spirit. But what about data?
Did we lose him, or is it hello, Dr. Yadav? Are you there? One of the bottlenecks of the hybrid model is this.
Yeah,
The biggest bottleneck. Unfortunately, India is currently in some transition mode.
Now,
Hi, Dr. Yadav, we lost you. We lost you in the middle.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So, कहाँ पे छूटा हम?
Sir, आप बस पिछले 30 सेकंड को rewind कर लीजिए. That's enough.
Okay, so yeah, I was saying that unless and until Arun ji or Sajeev ji, if they're CFO, I present analytics, that how is behavioral training program going to help them? How has the engagement score, change, 5% change in engagement score has led to 10% increase in productivity or not? They are not going to give a single penny to me. And this can only happen if I am going to capture, the very basic Kirkpatrick model ko hi follow kar le. That is also going to give us lot. Often we ask, what is the return on training program, whether it is online, whether it is offline. Every time my boss is asking about return, and every businessman should ask. Because you are here, I mean, definitely you are here for doing a responsible business, but you are here to do business. So if that return is not coming, probably my next intention to spend some money will be reduced. So analytics is going to help, and there are various ways through which we can calculate return. We can use analytics to make the selection of training platforms, the trainers, and which training to go for, in what module we should go for. I mean, definitely, I would like to say that, sometimes, hybrid model is definitely beneficial. Sometimes physical is beneficial, and sometimes digital is very beneficial, So then the point is, what is your criteria of evaluation? Are you getting it? What you are expecting from it?
Right. I mean, technically speaking, every business is here to mint the money. It's simply saying. So if
I mean,
you are
not only
you,
money. I little bit disagree on this. Only not only money. In a responsible way, you are going to make money. Yeah, that's what.
responsibly mint money. Let's
Yeah,
put
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
responsibly mint money. But this is a
Yeah.
very nice point. I love this panel discussion because the panelists themselves are getting the questions out. So now I'm going to ask Mr. Chitlangia this question, sir. How do you think we can maximize the ROI? See, post-COVID era, how do you think we can maximize the ROI by implementing the learning in the new model?
Great. So let's learn something from restaurants. Restaurant will not tell us that, look, this is what I have. I got only vada pav. Take it or leave it. Would they say that?
No,
They
they
will
would
say,
never
okay,
say
sir,
that.
आपको क्या चाहिए? South Indian restaurant भी उसको बोलो, North Indian, हाँ sir, एक आध दो option तो है, right? So first we have to think of whom are we serving. So today, whom are we serving? Majorly millennials, right? Because उनका ही population ज़्यादा है, तो हम करेंगे क्या? उनको ही serve करना है. And what do they want? So can we understand what do they want? First thing, we talked about attention span. पूरे दिन भर बैठ के सुनना, not their cup of tea. They want it fast, quick, instant, फटाफट चाहिए, right? Second thing is bit size learning. They want very, very small capsules in which they can learn. But I think one of the very big challenges, I don't want to sit and learn in advance. पता नहीं जरूरत पड़े नहीं, काम आए नहीं का, इतना सब कौन सुनना? All I want is when I get stuck up, then give me the solution. So it is on demand. When I get stuck up, can you give me some solution, practical solution, which is result oriented? Now tell me that when we are so much focused on what they want and when they want and deliver exactly that. And that is where I would agree with the Yadavji that AI is very important. That will help us to deliver them exactly what they require, not all the stuff that we wanted to give them in our previous classroom sessions. For example, if Google can give us very specific search result, why can't training industry give them exactly what they need rather than a lot of stuff which probably they don't need? So I think that is where ROI comes in, that you deliver what they want at the lowest cost with highest engagement. So one more thing they want is they want engagement. They don't want to be a passive listener. They want to be part of the process of learning, and they want it very highly engaging. Now, this is where I wanted to tell you that belief that online programs cannot be engaging or entertaining, I would disagree. And it is going to be one-way talk. I disagree. Just because I don't know how to do it doesn't mean that it is not existing. So we need to learn it, understand, learn, and then deliver. 100% ROI will come.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's a very positive outlook, sir. Really nice. I'm sure we can all take that forward. Now, look, talking about this, when you speak about ROI, we spoke about how analytics has impacted the way we perceive training as, and we are, as it is now, focused on training the millennials. Now, what I would request Dr. Ankita Singh to share her perspective on is, how do you think learning has altogether been impacted by this RWC, the remote working culture? The remote working culture, which has just now been embedded in us, how has learning been impacted? And when we speak about ROI, we spoke about Pareto, we spoke about analytics. In totality, what is the outcome of learning in the RWC? Dr. Singh.
Yeah, I think it has been positively impacted because it has further become more self-driven. We know that we are doing everything at our own pace. When we talk about empathy, I think people have started realizing and understanding and accepting that people will need their own space, their own time, because they're struggling between a so-called work and family, and there's hardly any balance that we keep talking about. So earlier, there were a lot of restrictions, there were a lot of expectations around training requirement that was forced or that was in a way indicated by the organizations. But now that has completely changed. So if at all we talk about training, how it has been redefined in remote time, I think the way we have been talking about hybrid, we have seen the rise primarily in this period while we all were working from home, and we knew that at the pace at which market is changing, people still have to get ready and they have to be there before the competitors are. So we were continuously in that learning more. It has become more adaptive. Earlier, it was predefined, wherein now, because it's remote and people know that it's digital, it's more flexible. They know that modification is very much possible. The module can be changed at any point in time as per the requirement. So it has become more adaptive. It's more benchmarked. It's creative. Digital, we have already discussed. And like Sir just mentioned, nobody has that much time, and at the same time, that span where people can sit across for 3 hours to 4 hours and just have that training, because somebody from home, or maybe your kids, your wife, somebody would call your name and they would say, you're needed here, and you'll have to get up or do that work. So how do you make a system which is supporting all the needs, and at the same time, whenever you have time at your own pace, you can still remain at the top of the requirements? So I think these are a couple of changes. The right term again would be hybrid, and with remote work coming in picture, I think it has positively changed. We can see a lot of apps, we can see a lot of certifications, we can see a lot of people investing their time themselves in the learning that is required. So these are a few positive impacts, or the redefined learning approach that we have witnessed during remote work.
Great. So along with hybrid cars, now we have hybrid workplaces, hybrid learning that's happening along with us. So brilliant. I mean, we have some positive time. Otherwise, I would have really loved to continue this panel discussion, because this is getting very interesting. But before I close the panel discussion, there are a few questions which I will really like to parry to the panelists. A question which has been asked by the audience to us here is that if the panelists could suggest few effective engagement activities or strategies that companies are adopting to ensure businesses are doing well, or rather in this condition that we are facing, that the companies actually remain or sustain or rather exist. Any panelist, would like to throw some light on this? Arun sir?
Sure, I would like to share few thoughts. One of the thing I liked is the facilitation tools and processes. Amongst that, I would say World Cafe is one of the leader, and the breakout rooms has given a tremendous amount of flexibility. So in the classroom or a hotel room, we had tables. So there are different tables. Now we have breakout rooms. There you can conduct activities. So World Cafe is something where every participant is engaged. They have to talk, they have to present, they have to do something or the other. No one is sitting idle. And the churning out of thought comes nicely. We have got whiteboard where you can, pen down your outcome of the discussion. Another methodology which I really like is Rule of 35. Rule of 35 could be used for decision making or getting the consensus. And again, it is highly engaging and it involves everyone. Earlier, we used to think that Rule of 35 can happen only in the physical environment, but now we have experienced that it can be easily done in the virtual environment also. And the third tool, which I like very much, is OST, Open Space Technology. Again, that's fabulous. It gives all the flexibility. There is no topic, there is no time frame. You just talk and you just do whatever you like to do, but you will find that in some room there are more people, some room there are less people. Automatically a conclusion is drawn by the natural flow of it. And that is what people want. They want their say. They want to say that, okay, let's talk about what is concerned to me, not what is concerned as per the designer. And these tools are bringing it out wonderfully well. Plus, there is another point which I would like someone else to narrate upon, is a lot of IA-based tools, third-party softwares, which can give a lot of leverage to us in doing our job.
So I just continue the same question or the point that Arun sir has made, and I would like to say this last question here is, there's this question by Mr. Srinivas who says that what is the future of trainers? To just expand this and use Arun sir's point here, do you think, or any of the panelists, do you think that AI can actually, artificial intelligence can actually replace trainers? Open question to all.
Yeah, so I would like to pitch in. First is about what Karuna mentioned. that some engagement activities. Now, before we answer it, we need to really understand that who is our audience, for whom we are going to make that engagement plan, because we cannot distribute the free size T-shirt to all. I mean, it's not going to end up. I mean, we are talking about ROI, and then if we are saying and giving the same medicine to them, then we are doing the same mistake, isn't it?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So you have to understand that who's your audience, where are they lacking. I am facing some other problem, I am disengaged in some other way, maybe Devangji is disengaged in some other way, so that customization has to be made there. And what GE is doing need not to be true for my organization. So I would go for customization again, because every organization is unhappy in their own ways. So you have to see that thing. Yeah. And then you can give that medicine. Not everybody is suffering from COVID. सबको ही अभी COVID vaccine लगा दो. हो सकता है कुछ दूसरी भी दिक्कत हो. Second is about AI replacing. I mean, absolutely not. AI can be a tool. I can use that tool to be more effective trainer. I will become absolutely outdated if I do not use AI, if I don't use analytics, if I do not make, data-driven decision, I will be outdated, but I have to be in pace. I have to be in competition. Sometimes I have to be ahead of competition. So I should be the forerunner. So yes, AI is coming, ML is coming, but at the same time, the doctor should also know that, what does the output mean actually? It's not only about using it in the right context and for right audience, makes sense. Otherwise, a medicine can be, lethal to somebody else. The same medicine, if given to some other person, it will not help, definitely in all the circumstances. So that's the choice conscious call. It's just not about information sharing. That's what I am talking always. It's about knowledge sharing. It is, otherwise it is just like a news reader reading the news and you are listening by sab satyavachan chal raha hai. So I would like to give that caution, but yeah, so this is my take on this. Yeah, thank you so much.
So I would like to endorse that, because a lot of surgery is being done by AI supported machines. But does that mean that you will leave your patient just on the machine and there will be no attendant? We are not going to do that, right? So that place is still required. So I think
very, very positive outlook. There is a very positive outlook. I'd just like the closing remarks from Dr. Ankita Singh too on the same subject.
I would say you have to understand what all AI can do, and you just have to stay ahead of it. If the answer to a particular profile is yes, this can be done by AI, and if you are also doing the same job, and then you are asking this question, can I be replaced? The answer is yes. If at all you're walking ahead of what AI is doing, and now your answer is, will I be replaced by AI? Probably no, because you're doing much more than that. So that's my take on it, that it's really important to identify what you are capable of, which a machine is still not able to do, and you have to just keep enhancing further. So that's the reason we say that growth and knowledge mindset is the primary requirement as of today. You just have to define a position for yourself which will fit you in a system even after 5 years.
Brilliant. Thank you. I would have loved for this panel discussion to go on, but then we are running short of time. So I'll just bring this to a close. It's been an enthralling discussion, and I myself as a trainer have been enlightened, and it's a pertinent question which keeps on cropping into our head as to, as a trainer, how do you evolve? Probably we can have another panel discussion on the same. I'll bring my role to the close right now. Thank you to all the three panelists, and it was wonderful talking to you, wonderful listening to your viewpoints. I have learned a lot, and I'm sure the audience too has. So yes, back to you, Devangji.
Thank you, everyone. Dr. Ramashankar Yadav, Arun sir, and I would like to thank our moderator as well, because his job is tough to get the knowledge out. I mean, from you. So thank you, everyone. I would request our Honorable Secretary, Mr. Himanshu Shekharji, to give a vote of thanks on the event. Over to you, Himanshu.
Yeah, good evening, Devan bhai. I hope I am audible to you.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, so almost 8:30, night curfew is imposed in Vadodara. So thanks to this virtual meeting that we are still engaged with this L&D conclave. It's a pleasure and honor to present vote of thanks on behalf of ISTD Vadodara chapter. It has been our pleasure to host all of you all on this L&D conclave. We have been fortunate to have some of the eminent persons from academia, L&D, industry. Our sincere thanks to all the delegates who have participated. This is a unique opportunity to learn from all subject matter experts. I think we have witnessed almost 70 plus participation across the industry, L&D industry. We are sure all of us must have benefited by attending this conclave. We are very much thankful to all the contributors who helped us directly or indirectly in organizing this conclave within short span of time. I think we have started planning last week, and within 7 days we are able to make it. So thanks to all once again. It would not be possible to organize this conclave without the support of our chapters member. We are sure we'll be continue to get generous support in this future also. We sincerely thank our keynote speaker, Dr. Sanjeev Nair, sir, panel member Arun Suklangia, sir, Dr. Ramashankar Yadav, sir, and Ankita Singh, ma'am, for accepting our invitation within a short notice and agreed to grace this conclave as a guest speaker. We acknowledge this unwavering support received from all of you, sir and ma'am. We'd like to express our sincere gratitude to you, sir and ma'am. We thank our chapter chairman and RVP West, Dilip Desai, sir, for his inspiring mentorship. I'll be failing in my duty if I do not underline a crucial role played by him for shaping this event right from initiation to monitoring at micro level planning. It has been real pleasure for all of us to work with you so closely, sir. We express our sincere thanks to our Kovalkar, sir, NC member of Baroda chapter, for concluding, giving the concluding remarks for keynote speech. I also thank our vice chairman and moderator of the today's conclave, Dr. Sitam Nair, for moderating this event. I have no word strong enough to express my gratitude to Dr. Nair. He has been a constant supporter of initiative, whatever we have planned or executed so far. We feel proud to have ever smiling and never tiring young and dynamic vice chairman, who is a real performer of his responsibility. So thank you once again, sir. My thanks also go to all the executive committee members who have given their precious time in organizing this event. In particular, I would like to acknowledge and thank the principal architect of this event, L&D Conclave, Devan bhai, for putting all the effort for making this event successful, right from conceptualizing the ideas, coordinating with the guests, and hosting this event in today evening. I'd also like to mention about our execution committee members, Satish sir, HM Desai sir, Ramkesh ji, Ranjita ma'am, Sonak bhai, Aarti ma'am, Amjad bhai, who have been hardly seen on the screen, but acted as a thread of garland, who had provided enough support and strength to host this evening. So thank you once again, thank you all. I once again thank everyone who's contributed, whose contribution and made this conclave so successful. So thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and have a safe weekend and safe days ahead. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dilip sir, you are on mute. Dilip sir. Yes, sir.
Hybrid model was practically used today by our national office,
Okay.
wherein 16 teams gave their presentation.
Right.
14 teams were there in person,
Okay.
and 2 gave presentation from remote places.
Okay.
And there were nearly 50 listeners locally and 500 listeners all over India. So this hybrid was really implemented, was very useful and very practical. So this is what is happening. It has its own merits and demerits, but then we want to take advantage, the best is the hybrid probably.
Yes.
Just for information. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Devangji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Great job, Devang.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Nishan. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Good night. See you.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay. Bye. Good night.